Raquel hides under the stadium benches every day to watch her rich neighbor practice. His handsome face, strong arms and toned abs in the pouring rain make Raquel fall in love with him. After the practice session, Raquel sneaks up on him and follows him to a remote mountain cemetery. But she soon gets lost in the forest and falls into a mud puddle. The next moment, two large hands hit her on the shoulders. Aries grabs her and asks her why she is following him. Raquel nervously replies that she wasn't following him. So he pulls Raquel's wrist to the gravestone and writes her Wi-Fi password on her hand, Aries, the Greek god. Aries then flirts with her, saying that he already knows that she is obsessed with him. It turns out that Aries has already hacked her computer and discovered that she has collected a lot of photos and information about him. He even read some of the fictional stories she wrote about being with him. When Raquel sees that the secret of her unrequited love can no longer be hidden, she bravely confesses her love to him. Aries laughs at her preference and tells her that you are not the type of person I like. He approaches her, grabs her necklace and pulls her into his arms, but pulls away as soon as he touches her nose, and walks away coldly. In the evening, she returns to her room disappointed, unaware that Aries is sitting on the windowsill opposite hers, looking at her. Although they are neighbors, there is a big class difference between them. The Aries family owns Alpha 3, the most influential company in Spain. This wealthy empire has 3 heirs named after Greek gods: Artemis, the eldest; Apollo, the youngest; and the second, most mysterious. The more attractive Aries is the one that Raquel takes a morbid interest in. Since they live in completely different worlds, Raquel has never spoken to Aries until the day her router breaks. She goes to the window to check the cable and is surprised to find Apollo sitting below. He says that his Wi-Fi is not working. Since she gave her brother Aries the password in advance, he comes to use her Wi-Fi. This leaves Raquel confused. How could she not know when she spoke to Aries? Late at night, when Aries moves his computer to her patio and plays music, he wakes her up. She criticizes him for being an idiot for using her Wi-Fi without her permission. However, he is not afraid of her at all and makes a valid point about it not working, and she is powerless to stop him. When he leaves, he calls Raquel a witch. Raquel is determined to show him that he is playing with the wrong man. The second time they talk, she finds the courage to confess her love for him. But his attitude leaves Raquel even more confused. He does not seem to reject her, but he just does not want to build a relationship with her. Raquel is frustrated and angry, so she returns home and disconnects her router. In the middle of the night, Aries breaks into her room through the window, surprising her. He tells her that someone disconnected the router, so he came to reconnect the Wi-Fi. Raquel is furious and says she will sue him for trespassing. Aries is confident she won't do it. This is the second time he has refused Raquel, but his next behavior completely contradicts his words. He squats down in front of her, and Raquel, who has been single for a long time, suddenly breathes heavily and loses her mind when he arouses her. Just as she expects him to make the next move, Aries rolls down the window and runs away. The next day, Aries shows up at the ice cream parlor where Raquel works part-time. He says that his older brother runs a club. He wants to invite her to the opening party tonight as compensation for using her Wi-Fi. Even though she knows he has no feelings for her, Raquel can't bear to reject him. At night, Raquel takes her friend Daniela to a party hosted by a group of elites. The outgoing Daniela is drawn to these beautiful people and quickly leaves her alone. Raquel immediately begins searching for Aries. After seeing him walk through the door, she follows him into a deserted alley. Aries stands in the dim light, smoking a cigarette before approaching her and flirting with her. Raquel can't let him get the better of her. She pushes Aries into a beer crate, sits on his lap, but when Aries kisses her, she gets up and walks away, leaving him confused and lost. She runs to the bar and meets his younger brother, Apollo. Apollo complains that his older brother won't let anyone give him alcohol. Raquel sees that he's bored and gets him a vodka soda. Unfortunately for her, Apollo gets drunk easily and insists on leaving with her. He's intrigued by the beautiful Daniela. Despite his severe headache, he can't resist touching Daniela's hair. Raquel grabs her cell phone and redirects it to his Uber home. But as soon as he hears the word home, Apollo becomes wary. He adamantly refuses to go home and throws Raquel's phone out the window. Raquel has no choice but to put the drunk and disobedient boy in her bed. As the sky turns from dark to bright blue, Aries bursts in through the window. He sits on her bed and places his hand on his drunk brother's back and massages it, trying to make him feel better. Aries compliments him on his professionalism as a doctor. He says that his grandfather died of allergies before, so he started reading about medicine. His father hates drinking, so none of the three dare to come home drunk. Aries claims that neither he nor his brother will return home until his father leaves for work. He then lies down on her bed, asking her if she wants to stay up reading or go to bed. Raquel barely thinks before she starts getting out of her shoes and lies down between the two brothers. Seeing Aries turn his head towards her, she shyly turns around. Aries turns towards her and places his hand on her skirt. Raquel searches for something, rests her head on his arm, and feels a happiness she hasn't felt in over a decade of being single. The next day, at noon, Raquel's best friend Yoshi arrives at her house looking for a private tutor. Raquel is surprised to see an unfamiliar bag on her desk containing a new cell phone and a note from Aries. Despite her poverty, Raquel's pride is too strong to accept this kind of charity. She goes to the next room and, under the guise of returning something, enters for the first time the prince's castle, which she has been watching from afar for years. Claudia, the housekeeper, leads her to Aries in the playroom. Once inside, Raquel sees him video chatting with a girl. Aries spots her cell phone and the cell phone case in her hand, and immediately hangs up. He asks her not to brag so much and to think of it as making up for his brother breaking her cell phone screen. Raquel thinks he is playing with her. She gets angry and throws the phone to leave. Aries comes up behind her and grabs her by the arm. She hates that he tricked her, but she can't help but want him. The two spend the afternoon happily playing on the pool table and the couch. But when Raquel tries to ask him for a little affection, he quickly puts on his pants and starts playing games. Raquel's self-esteem is damaged, and she angrily leaves the bastard. Through two windows, Aries looks tenderly at the necklace she left behind while Raquel writes his story about acting like a bad guy on the computer. The next day in class, Aries sends her a picture of himself wearing her necklace in order to get her belongings back. Raquel has to come to the place that broke her heart again. Apollo spots her and excitedly takes her to the pool, where he introduces her to the other rich kids. They play a game of Never Have I Ever and jump into the water to have fun. While Raquel is amazed by the housekeeper and Artemis standing in the shade and exchanging kisses, Aries rushes over to her and jumps into the pool with her in his arms. After swallowing some water, she rushes to the surface, saying it's salty. Aries explains that he's allergic to chlorine. In order to retrieve the necklace, she enters her lover's room for the first time in years. After watching him, Aries helps her put on the necklace. With the sun warming up and the wind blowing, Aries wakes up, and her life takes a turn for the worse. Aries orders Claudia to enter the room and get rid of her. He stands on the rooftop and looks at her angry back without saying a word of explanation. Raquel runs to Yoshi's house, dejected, looking for comfort. In order to lift her out of her depression, he takes her to Daniela's party. Unfortunately, they witness Aries flirting with another girl nearby. Yoshi hurriedly takes her away from the guy. They sneak into the high school swimming pool. In fact, Yoshi doesn't just treat her like a friend, he's had a crush on Raquel since he was a kid. Yoshi lies on her lap and tells her how much he admires her. Even though Raquel has heard him confess many times, she's always considered him a good friend. Yoshi jumps into the water to calm his urges. To his surprise, a bunch of yellow things are quickly running towards him. Raquel quickly drags him to the shore and runs away. It turns out that Daniela was trying to make some bubbles in the pool and accidentally opened the toilet pipe. After a night of partying with her friends, Raquel stumbles drunk on the street in front of her house. Aries notices her, picks her up on his shoulders, and carries her to her room through the window. Drunk Raquel forgets about his irresponsible behavior. She still loves him so much that she doesn't want him to leave her and begs him to tell her a story. Here Aries reveals the reason for his approach to her at one time and his distance from her at another. It turns out that he does not love her, but is afraid of falling in love. When he was a child, he thought his parents were the perfect couple. But one day he breaks into his mother's room and finds another man in her bed. His father doesn't blame his mother when he hears about it. Instead, his father calls him in, shows him pictures of women from all over the world, and confesses that he's been seeing other women too. His parents' open marriage was terrifying to Aries. Since then, he has come to believe that love is weakness and is afraid of falling in love. Unfortunately, Raquel, who was drunk, doesn't even remember his honest confession. She wakes up the next day and forgets that she saw him the night before. She looks at the 2 messages on her phone that Aries has pulled away, and she thinks he's playing her again, so she cuts him off. His father and older brother call Aries to school because they've noticed his grades have been slipping lately. His father reminds him of his responsibility to study hard, to attend Stanford University to study economics, and to join the board of the family company. Finally, his father gives him a final warning, and Aries obeys, suppressing his desire to see Raquel, but he realizes that without her, his life is hopeless. So he rushes to the library, finds Raquel, and apologizes to her. Realizing that he can't live without her, he tells her that he loves her. When he sees that handsome face, Raquel can't say no. She forgives him and agrees to go out with him. Raquel goes on a date dressed as a witch. Aries comes to greet her at her door dressed as a Greek god. He takes her to the roof of his luxurious building and pretends it's Olympus. They turn it into a cozy and private place with wine glasses, candlelight, a duvet, and more. From then on, the Ferris wheel, the bathroom, and every other place you can think of has become their paradise. But soon his family finds out about their office play. Once the video goes public, the company loses its business and partners. His father accuses him of being irresponsible. To the family's surprise, Aries doesn't keep quiet this time, but rebels and says that he won't go to America to study economics, and decides to stay with Raquel. He wants to escape his abusive family and do what he loves. To earn money to attend his favorite medical school, he starts working at a fast food restaurant. But his arrogant brother Artemis soon realizes this. He cannot accept the idea of Aries giving up a promising career and prestigious social status for a poor girl. So he throws a party for the company and invites Raquel. That night, Raquel puts on her most expensive dress and follows Aries to the company. She is nervous about the lavish party and the high-ranking elite. Aries proudly introduces her to his parents. His father still makes fun of the last time they played upstairs. Instead of entertaining Raquel warmly, they discuss the opera, which she does not understand at all. Raquel turns her head anxiously and is surprised to see her mother dressed as a waitress carrying a tray. Fearing embarrassment, she tries to run away, but accidentally bumps into a waiter and falls. The moment her mother's eyes meet, Raquel runs away, feeling inferior. She thinks that Aries has set all this up to humiliate her. So she slaps Aries in the face and runs away sadly. Artemis approaches Aries and lectures him on how to abandon such an ordinary girl. It is revealed that Artemis planned all of this on purpose. The huge gap between the 2 families causes them to separate. At dinner the next day, Artemis is praised by his parents for making the prom a success. Now the board and clients trust Artemis. In order not to jeopardize what appears to be a happy and successful family, Aries abandons his rebellion. Meanwhile, Raquel's mother enters her room and talks to her. Raquel cries and apologizes, regretting the way she treated her mother. She laments the fact that she was fooling herself the whole time, believing that money and social status could not stand in the way of love. Her mother urges her not to give up and to be brave enough to achieve what she wants. On the day of the prom, Raquel runs to the house next door, but Artemis stops her. She screams for Aries and wants to talk to him. Artemis throws her out of the house. Aries hears her voice, but is deeply upset by his family's pressure on him. Raquel does not pressure him, instead sending him a text message telling him that she will be waiting for him at the prom. An hour later, Aries decides to go back to his girlfriend. He heads straight to Raquel's dance party. As soon as he walks through the door, he meets Yoshi. Yoshi blocks him from entering. Yoshi is mad at him for hurting him so many times. He calls Aries an idiot and warns him to stay away from Raquel. Aries takes him by the arm and leads him to the school's swimming pool. Aries admits that he was wrong and tells Yoshi all about his love for Raquel. In fact, he always knew that Yoshi loved Raquel, but Yoshi still won't let him see Raquel. So Aries asks him to beat him up just to get revenge on Raquel. Without hesitation, Yoshi hits him with one punch. During the second punch, Aries loses his balance and falls into the pool. Yoshi quickly turns on the light, not realizing that he kicked the chlorine and spilled it. After seeing Aries lying motionless at the bottom of the pool, Yoshi leaves the place in a panic. Shortly after, Aries wakes up with a severe headache, but slips and falls into the chlorine-filled pool at the bottom. When he gets out and tries to get to the beach, He gets allergic to chlorine and suddenly can't breathe. He then loses consciousness completely and sinks to the bottom of the pool. On the other hand, Yoshi quickly reaches out to a frustrated Raquel. He tells her everything about his fight with Aries and his fall into the pool. Raquel realizes that something is wrong and quickly runs to the pool. As soon as she gets in, she sees him floating in the water. Without hesitation, she jumps into the pool, picks up Aries, and screams for help. Yoshi brings a rope and pulls them both from the bottom of the pool. Aries is taken to the hospital. He is in intensive care due to severe anaphylactic shock and respiratory failure. His father blames Raquel for all of this, but Raquel doesn't back down this time. She chooses to take care of Aries every day and every night. She breaks into Aries' house and talks to his father and brother. The fear of losing Aries shakes his family's principles, so she no longer stands in the way of his love for Raquel. When Aries finally opens his eyes, he gets what he's been waiting for. Raquel becomes his lover. They spent the summer in each other's arms, and his family no longer pressured him to study economics and take over the company. With the full support of his family and the understanding of his mistress, Aries was finally ready to enter one of the best medical schools in the world. Raquel accompanies him to the airport to board his flight to Stockholm, 1,800 miles away. Only then does she realize that he has loved her since before he spoke to her. As she watches him fade into the crowd, Raquel hugs her mother and cries. Even though they are in a long-distance relationship, their love will not fade because they will surprise each other, just like the little gift Raquel put in his pocket. 4 months later, Aries suddenly appears on her windowsill and returns to ask for a new gift.